why do politics matter? I mean, that's a question I get asked all the time, and people always talk about that. People who aren't interested in politics at all, like, why does any of this stuff actually matter? But before we get to that, we got some very, very good news to report.
With that new hope in the battle against the coronavirus, 1 week after that news from Pfizer, tonight news on a second vaccine. Moderna announcing its vaccine is nearly 95% effective.
There is not only one, but two vaccines for COVID-19 that could be over 90% effective, which means we could finally be getting an end date to this pandemic. But there's just one little problem to figure out.
Set a very aspirational goal of 70% of the adult population being vaccinated within 6 months.
Has Operation Warp Speed given you any indication of how many doses of vaccine you're going to get?
The assumption is about 100,000. If it's a 2-dose regimen, that will be separated into 2 doses, so it would be 50,000 individuals.
And how many people do you have in that high priority healthcare worker category?
500,000.
You're not even close.
No.
Not even close. So, the vaccine will take a couple weeks to get approval because they need to still monitor all the folks who took it to test it, make sure it's safe. And then it could be 6 months before a vaccine could be distributed, best case scenario. And there's still a very, very big question of who will actually take it. It's been interesting. They've done polling on this issue, and they're finding even in that same 60 Minutes segment there, they found that even healthcare workers were not very keen on taking a vaccine. Now, this whole process would probably go just a little bit smoother if the next leader of the free world could actually get involved. But by refusing to concede, Trump isn't just saving his ego from admitting defeat, he's also actively undermining the Biden administration and their efforts to end this pandemic. And so this has affected everyone, right? The COVID-19 thing has affected everyone, on the entire globe. So when someone says politics doesn't matter, and they're like, they want to go to the bar, they want to go to their favorite go see a concert, they want to go see a movie, and they can't because they're shut down. Think of this kind of crap right here, especially if the vaccine rollout doesn't go as planned. But yeah, Kelly, does what does this kind of make you think about the potential vaccine rollout and how this is being delayed because of, let's be honest, a bunch of bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems ahead. The biggest is, getting people to take this vaccine. So even if it comes out, it's amazing. These vaccines are great, even if we can get them to people, which would be another problem. How do we get people to take this? How do we get enough people to take this vaccine to slow the spread of this virus and knock it out? Because right now we're in free fall, and people have a lot of questions about this virus and this vaccine. And, some of the questions about the vaccine are warranted. People don't want to be guinea pigs. They don't want, some of them are concerned that this process has been rushed because of the speed which companies are going to create this vaccine. But this is also a country with a very high resistance to taking vaccines. There's the whole anti-vaxxer movement, and getting those people on board with taking the vaccine is going to be important. And if the outgoing president, says, okay, Biden's taken office, don't trust these vaccines, don't take them, and the Republican administration follows President Trump on that, that's going to be a massive problem. That's the number one problem I see moving forward.
Absolutely. And there's definitely, a lot of people have a lot of distrust over the vaccine. I mean, I was very worried when they were talking about trying to rush it out before the election, and I've actually done segments where they're trying to essentially undermine the FDA, so they'll just approve it, even though it looks like it's going to be safe, but it's just kind of the idea is perception for a lot of people is reality, and unfortunately. The Trump administration has been going around trying to make it seem safe for political reasons. And by doing that, they're undermining people's confidence in the vaccine in general.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have one side of the aisle, those efforts, undermine confidence. And then the other side of the aisle, what if they stop making those efforts, stop telling those people it's safe? Then these people have the normal resistance to vaccines. If the president suddenly changes his mind and says, "Oh no, I'm not president anymore. It's not safe," that's going to cause a problem. And that's not the only problem here. Just getting the vaccine out is going to be a huge issue. I mean, that segment you just showed. I mean, that's 50,000 is a drop in the bucket for what we need. We are no longer in the outbreak stage. We are no longer in a trending poorly stage. We are in free fall. It's bad everywhere. And
Exactly.
This is going to take a very, very long time to get better. So even if they can produce the number of vaccines we're going to need to get all Americans, or at least most Americans, vaccinated, then they're going to have to put those out. President Trump has repeatedly said he would use a military rollout. We're now hearing from infectious disease experts who are saying, don't put too much faith in that. Those military rollouts are meant for hotspots. They are not meant for countrywide efforts. And they're saying that, like you were talking about earlier, Mark Espert over at the DOD, was just forced out. That's going to complicate things. There's going to be a lot of problems getting this vaccine out to everyone. So really, I think it's more the indications we're seeing from Biden and his coronavirus team that he's putting together, that it's going to be a lot more regulations on wearing masks, a lot more regulations on cracking down on large gatherings. And that's really how we stop this. Nobody wants to see another full-on lockdown, but, restaurants are saying that, the lockdowns aren't what kill us. We get, insurance payouts in some cases, other ones stimulus money, but it's, even if you're at 50% capacity and you can't get that number of people in your restaurant, that's what kills you.
Absolutely. And it's been very interesting to me that I think a lot of time was wasted in this pandemic during these lockdowns, trying to fight the government, because unfortunately we had a Republican government when it happened, and Democrats set aside a lot of money because they knew, honestly, you can't ask businesses to shut down and not give people any way to support themselves. You can't just, no business can shut down just indefinitely. I thought it was very surprising. Even Disney, which has been one of the most successful, businesses, corporations in the entire world, for the first time in like 40 years, they posted like a loss. It was a multi-billion-dollar loss. And so my hope is that if we do get a Democratic Congress, get a Democratic president, well, I should say we're going to have one, and I don't care what this vote counter stuff is all about. But yeah, that we could maybe see, okay, let's fight all this together, right? Like, if we are going to shut down again, which would be best for public health, at least these businesses can get money to survive.
Yeah, I think under the new president, we're going to see a second stimulus. The real question, there's two main questions, I guess. First, with that second stimulus, is it going to be a small one-time payout like the first one, or is it going to be a large payout like we saw in some European countries, where they paid companies to stay closed, where they paid people to stay home? Are we going to see something like that with a much larger amount of money, or are we going to see another similar effort pushed by Democrats, similar to the first stimulus bill? And then, of course, the second question is whether or not they can get that passed. It's hard to see the political support for blocking that. I mean, if Democrats even if they don't control the Senate, if they just bombard Republicans with, blocking that stimulus bill, it's going to become politically tenuous for them at some point.
Absolutely, and I hope so. That is definitely my hope. But sometimes, Democrats figure a way to not figure it out.
And we've seen in the past where Democrats are much more willing to compromise. Republicans, like being able to declare victory no matter what happens. They've consistently opposed something only for Democrats to get it done. Really, the only time we haven't seen Democrats, compromising is when President Obama had that supermajority and they got the American Care Act, that the ACA passed, Obamacare. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the next stimulus bill. But to go back to talking a little bit about the vaccines themselves, there's a new push by the Trump administration to lower drug prices, which is great for us, great for Americans. But it now appears to be a politically motivated push to punish those companies, Pfizer, Moderna, for announcing their vaccines after the election, after it already looked like Biden had won. They're now looking at putting into place a most favored nation rule, which would force drug companies to sell to us at prices comparable to comparable European countries. And if anybody knows anything about European medicine can tell you it's a lot cheaper over there. It's cheaper basically everywhere in the world than here. So it would be great for the average American. It's just bizarre that we're going to have a possibility of finally getting this. It's something Trump had campaigned on. It was very popular. I've heard people saying to me, oh, this is why I like him. He lowered drug prices for me and my family. So it's bizarre to think that, he might follow through on one of his more popular campaign ideas as a way to punish drug companies. It also really makes you wonder whether he's doing the troop pullouts, politically setting himself up as, his relevancy, through the next 4 years of the Biden administration, as he prepares to run again in 2024.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like. Just kind of looking from an outside perspective for sure. And yeah, it's just, it's another thing of him just not taking the pandemic seriously. Because, even if he wants to publicly put out there that he's, not conceding and that he hasn't lost, the fact that he's setting up the next administration to, have to figure it out just kind of seems pretty shitty.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, click that little subscribe button, maybe the like button, and hey, maybe just leave a comment. I want to know what you're thinking. What do you think about all the politics and news and all the stuff that's going on in our country?